Hello, welcome to the show. We are streaming live on gh1tv.com. Good evening. My name is Nana Abanamwa. This is State of Affairs. Tonight, we're looking at the campaign messages of the NDC, the NPP, the CPP, and the other parties who are all contesting in the November 7 elections. Do they have messages yet? We have 203 days to the elections. What are your expectations? Well, tonight we'll be talking about that. In the studio with me already is the General Secretary of the National Democratic Congress, General Mosquito, as we all call him, but also he's known as Mr. Johnson Asiedu Nketiah. We're expecting the NPP rep to join us pretty soon. In the meantime, let's take a look at the story filed by Sangmokitete earlier today. She visited a place in Nsawam, actually, Adeso, in the Upper West Achim district of the Eastern region, where she says that the police are overwhelmed by the use of motorbikes for commercial purposes. The district commander, DSP Henry Nketiah, and motorists alike have attributed the thrive of the Okada business to their poor road network.
Road Traffic Regulation 2012 Legislative Instrument 2180 bans commercial motorbike operations. However, the contrary is seen at Adeso and surrounding communities in the eastern region. Here, having 3 persons on a motorbike is a common sight, plus they usually do not wear helmets.
This is Adeso in the eastern region. The use of motorbikes is predominant here, despite its illegality. Now we are told that it started from 2008 and the business has grown ever since. We will be speaking to some of the residents and the bikers to find out how they are battling with the police on this issue.
The use of motorbikes for commercial purposes in the area started in 2008 and has expanded over the years.
Because of roads are not good and people started boarding the motor to the village, we should know. If that would be the case, the job is going on, so we should go and buy more. And we started buying one by one, we can't make plenty for you. I entered the job almost 6 years right now.
This day attributed to bad road network in the area and high transport fares.
Can ufa ekosi omojo ene dance fair. Enti na me fa moto.
Enti moto ni cheaper. Can ojo sen.
Can obeji be 2 cedis.
Na moto ni sen.
150 pesos.
Enti na ya wonfa ka na wotena moto ni.
Pa che hono pan se na yeti kanu ntino.
Although the bikers were not ignorant of the law governing the use of motorbikes in the country, they still went contrary.
Na police for hamadwen.
I'm higher.
Almost saying, then enti no Muhammad.
Almost I share how much.
Na so nim say motor na say mu use for commercial purpose. When you say motor na empene so sa. Enti ade na mo de commercial purpose.
A drive on some of the roads gave evidentiary support to their claim, but that did not make the commercialization of motorcycles right.
The town here don't have motor park, so they operate around the vehicle stations and then by the roadsides, which is also a problem. But the people just show interest in it. So much as you try to sack them, you see them moving about, operating around.
They don't use helmets as well.
They don't use helmets. They don't use helmets. At times you see one Okada carrying about 4 or 5 people on top. But you stop him today and you warn him, or whatever you process him for court. The next day you see another Okada doing the same thing.
DSP Nketiah, however, reiterated that the road network was poor. He called on government to come out with measures that will aid the enforcement of the LI that prevents the commercialization of motorcycles.
It's illegal and we need to enforce it. And since it's in Accra, on the regional capitals, everywhere you go, Okada are operating. I wonder if I can start from here. So I'm also looking up to the top authorities. If they stop, I will also stop them.
Right, so that story was filed by Nketiah earlier today. Now, as I told you earlier, we are discussing campaign messages, and of course, we are all looking forward to the November 7 elections. It's only 203 days away. Are you impressed so far? Well, campaign hasn't really started. Last week, we saw President Mahama on an official tour. They call it accounting to the people, and he kicked it off in the eastern region. Well, we're yet to see the launch of the NDC's campaign and that of the NPP, the CPP, the PNC, and other political parties. In the studio tonight is the General Secretary of the NDC, General Mosquito, also known as Mr. Johnson Asiedu Nketiah. It's good to have you in the studio, General. And we're expecting the rep of the New Patriotic Party to join us pretty soon. Hopefully, he shows up on time. It's good to have you in the studio.
Thank you very much.
How have you been?
I'm fine.
Okay, so I take it that you were not in the eastern region because it had nothing to do with the party, or were you?
No, I was in the eastern region.
Oh, you were?
A week before the president came.
To prepare for him.
As I was exiting, he was entering.
Okay, was that strategic?
No, the party had organized an outreach program where we spread ourselves across the country. So I took charge of eastern region.
What do you do on outreach programs?
The party touches base with its branches and, you know, energize them in preparation for the campaign launch.
Okay. Are your MPs campaigning? Because recently I saw a story from the NPP urging all its parliamentarians to ensure that they go to the constituencies to campaign. Do you have that problem in your party where some MPs would think, some candidates would think that it's an easy peasy road for them, so they may not even show up to campaign?
We declared an outreach where it is not only the candidates, but all ministers, all political appointees, and party national executive members went to the regions.
Is this something you do often?
Yeah, that is our main means of reaching out to our people. You know, everybody in Ghana knows that we are not very strong in the media. So
why are you not strong in the media?
Well, maybe for historical reasons. So we like to touch base with the masses where they exist.
Okay.
And discuss issues with them. So.
Or is it that you are afraid that the media is highlighting something completely different from what you claim you're doing?
The media, the history of the media in this country, I don't know how much time we have, but you know, the history of the private media in this country put them naturally, most of them, as allies with the NPP. So
really?
Yes. So that's the reason why, from President Rawlings's time, we've always chosen to reach the people where they exist.
Maybe if you had ever tried to repeal the criminal libel law.
It is not about.
It's not that. It's not
it's
just
not
that.
about only the criminal libel law.
You didn't treat them right.
But you see, we provided the legal framework for private media to begin in this country. In the past, since independence up to our time, it was just state-owned media. So it was NDC that actually opened the floodgates for private media to come. But it flourished at a time when MPP had taken a decision to boycott Parliament. And so later they realized that maybe it was a mistake, the decision they took. So they decided to organize what they call opposition outside Parliament. And that was where their entrepreneurs decided to go into media so that they will have their voice outside Parliament. So many of the very first private media houses were sponsored for political reasons, and that's how some of them have remained up to date. So that is the history.
Not to stay on that so much. We were on the outreach program. Okay, so when you do these outreach programs, you prefer the outreach program to the mainline media work because of the history you've given?
Campaign is about reaching out to the people, so we prefer to go to the masses where they are. In fact, if you are talking on the media and promising things, you may not know the nature of the road. from maybe Koko up to Asuboni rails and so on, where I went. But if you drive on that road, you know the bad sections and so on. So when you come to plan as to how to address their problems, you were there yourself, you experienced what they went through, so you know what to do.
Okay. And are the people satisfied with the work the NDC has done in the last 4 years?
Absolutely. Wherever we have gone, the impression we've gathered around the country gives us confidence that we are winning this election.
Is that what the people tell you?
Not just what they talk about, but you can see from either the body language, the evidence of what we've done and so on. And we don't have any doubt at all about our
But
ability to win the
naturally, when we see, if I'm in a village somewhere and you came to visit, naturally, if I saw you, I may go gaga because I have seen you, I'll be excited, I've heard you on radio so much, seen you on TV, and then you're in the community. I may be really excited. It doesn't necessarily mean that I am satisfied with the work you do.
That is part of the satisfaction. You need to see your leaders. So if you have a certain leadership crisis which does not relate to the people on the field, I mean, they decide to vote for the person they've been seeing.
Okay.
So the humility to reach out to the masses in the locations where they exist.
And is this
it's part of
a
the
trait
magic.
you think is only peculiar with the NDC?
Well, we think that is our trademark, so that's what
Humility.
we do.
I mean, Nanado has been to the
then-
Volta region. Last year, late last year, he was in the Volta region, if you remember.
Yes.
Yeah, that is also an outreach
So that
program.
amounts to humility.
He's been to the Eastern region as well. I mean, it's about touching base with the people. Nanado does that as well. He went to the Volta region, your World Bank. He went to the Eastern region and some other regions. It's also touching base, isn't it?
Well, I wish him well.
And I'm sure throughout he was told something different from what you were told.
I say I wish him well.
Okay. Now, when are you launching your campaign?
Well, we'll inform you when we are ready to launch our campaign. To give you an idea, we'll be officially introducing our presidential candidate, because this year the election has been different from what we had done in the past. In the past, we organized special delegates congress. So after the election, we introduced our candidate. This year, it wasn't like that. So because everybody had the opportunity to participate in the voting, so we are yet to officially introduce our presidential candidate. We are yet to introduce the running mate. And because we did a one-man, one vote, there ought to be an opportunity where we will be introducing our parliamentary candidates as well. And we are almost through with our party manifesto and so on. So we will be...
How different will the manifesto be from Accounting to the People, the Green Book?
When it comes, you will see the difference and the similarities.
We are not going to see a replication.
You will see the differences and the similarities, because we want to build on the same foundation. So as we progress, we tell you where we have reached and the next
You have
challenges.
a theme for it already, or you're
you're
sticking to Better Ghana Agenda? Part 2, maybe?
No, this
or
time.
part 3?
This time is going to be changing lives and transforming Ghana.
Oh, that's what you're using.
Sure.
Didn't you
So
copy that from the NPP?
No, we haven't.
Changing lives, transforming Ghana. In 2012, they used that, didn't they?
No, they didn't.
They didn't? What did they use? Do you remember?
I don't remember. I don't care to keep what they do in my memory.
So you haven't copied them at all?
Not at all.
Okay. Now, do you think, I mean, you've been General Secretary for some time now.
Yeah.
Do you think that you really have been able to execute that Better Ghana Agenda? Have people felt that Better Ghana Agenda you promised in 2012?
We believe so, absolutely, but the verdict will come during the elections.
I mean, because if you look at...
the better judges, you cannot write exams and mark yourself.
But you would know if you're doing well.
Congratulate yourself.
You would know.
And I'm saying
if
that
you're
we are
doing
very confident that we've done that. And so, but the final judgment will
your
come from the
detractors
electors.
disagree.
Well,
or
that's
your
why,
opponents disagree.
That's why it is important to listen to the real judges who are the people on the ground.
Now, I want to stay with the Eastern region. You said you were there before the president visited. We are told that there's been some expansion, for instance, in the provision of water, in the construction of roads, hospitals, and then the university that the president promised in 2012. Would you say that that target to go for a 50-50 with the NPP is attainable?
I'm very confident about that.
You are?
I'm very confident about that. But let me correct you. We haven't started the university. We are doing the legislative work and the other preparatory. To begin a university, you need to do a lot of preparatory work. Right. So we are at that stage, but we haven't actually started with brick and mortar and so on. So that one.
Okay. How well did you do in the 2012 elections in the Eastern region?
Eastern region, I believe we went around 45, thereabouts. And you see, Eastern region has never been the stronghold of MPP. We won Eastern region in 92, we won it in 96. It was in 2000 that it was taken over. So we've learned our lessons, and we believe we can take over Eastern region.
50-50.
That is the beginning point, but subsequently moving forward, we will take over more than 50.
Okay, we're taking a short break. I mean, I was asking you all these questions just to hoping that Mr. Makmenu shows up. But we're taking a short break. When we come back, we'll be talking about the actual theme for tonight, campaign messages, and how relevant they are to you. Remember to be part of the discussion. State of Affairs, the hashtag is State of Affairs across all social media. And as a Twitter buff, well, I'd love you to leave your messages on my timeline. Do stay with us. We'll be right back.
Former President J.J. Rawlings, and you're watching State of Affairs on GH1.
You're welcome back to the show. We are streaming live on the internet across the world. gh1tv.com, and I'm in the studio this evening with the General Secretary of the NDC, Johnson Asiedu Nketiah, also known as General Mosquito. Which one do you prefer? Asiedu Nketiah or General Mosquito?
Anyone.
But you must have a favorite amongst the two.
No, I was named Asiedu Nketiah by my parents. You guys decided to give me General Mosquito. I don't object to it.
Oh, well, even if you object, well, we will still keep it, right? Okay, so we are discussing campaign messages, and you heard them not long ago that the 2016 manifesto will be themed Changing Lives, Transforming Ghana. Yeah, he disagrees when I say that it was the theme for the 2012 manifesto of the New Patriotic Party, but that's a fact, you know.
No, I don't know. I don't.
You've never seen it?
I don't think so.
Never, ever. You didn't even read it?
What I saw from their campaign was, I believe, in Ghana with Nanado's picture and other things.
The 2012 manifesto?
I don't know which year was that, but I believe in Ghana with Nanado's picture. I tried to figure out what it is that he believed in Ghana, because I realized he doesn't believe in the Ghana judiciary. He doesn't believe in Ghana's...
How does he not believe in the Ghana judiciary?
Ghana's Electoral Commission. He doesn't believe in anything about Ghana's security. He doesn't believe in... And yet he believes in Ghana. So I'm yet to find out what he believes.
Each one of them. When you say he doesn't believe in the judiciary, this is a man who thought that the elections in 2012 were not fair. And he went to the judiciary. How can he not believe in the judiciary?
So when the verdict came, they started accusing that judges have taken bribes, and that they were even...
That was not an accusation from the
They were
Fuadu.
even pinpointing people who actually carried the bribes and so on. So, and then in the long run, they still go around saying that they had won the election. So it tells you that he didn't believe in
he accepted the verdict.
No, he had no option. Actually, he was a warmonger who had run out of options.
He was no more. How was
he has run out of options.
How is he a warmonger?
So where was he carrying his next complaint to? Because he didn't choose.
This is a man who believes in the rule of law.
He didn't choose to go to...
And he accepted the verdict from the Supreme Court.
He didn't choose to go to court first. he decided to hit the street to make Ghana ungovernable.
No. The people turned up at Obrasport. He went to calm them.
He did never calm them. He went there to indicate that they had rejected the results of the Electoral Commission. So
but he calmed them.
He had no belief in Ghana's institutions, the Electoral
Well,
Commission.
Well, it's not about belief. I mean, if you feel, didn't you do that in 2000? Did you accept the 2004 elections?
Yes, we did.
Well, but you still felt that it wasn't fair.
No, why? Have we ever complained about? Were we not at the swearing-in?
Yes, you were at the swearing-in.
So what is
the
it that...
The NPP didn't show up at the swearing-in of President Mahama?
What indicates that we had a problem with this, apart from some members who decided to go to court? But you see that this was a flag bearer who said that, look, the man has won, let's go in.
He believes in the rule of law, and that is why he chose the court.
Then he should have accepted the verdict of the court without question.
Nanado didn't say anywhere that he does not accept the verdict. He accepted it.
He says he disagrees.
He disagrees, but that's in his right.
And from there, he's been the leader of the party, and all his party communicators and leadership have actually demonstrated that they didn't believe in what the Supreme Court has said.
So when in 2004 some of the members of your party went to court, were they disagreeing with the judiciary? Did they not believe in Ghana?
The leadership of the party did not conduct itself to suggest that we didn't believe in what was happening.
So you were not in support of the members of your party who went to court?
In this particular case, even after we've come out of court, Nanado and his campaign people continue preaching that they won the elections. And so what is it about saying that, well, I accept the results, and yet you go out there, your party official position is that you won that election. Well, when even it has been demonstrated to you that you lost the election.
But he accepted it. That's the most important thing.
He did not accept. He had no option.
When you say he had no option, what exactly do you mean?
Because the man started with a gathering at Obrasport,
where he calmed the people.
And subsequently, after you claim he calmed the people,
he calmed the people.
He pushed them to go and do regional let my vote count rallies after the Obrasport to try to demonstrate to people that he did not understand, he did not accept what was going on. Then he went to Supreme Court. The Supreme Court gave a judgment. After the judgment, they continued maligning individual judges of the Supreme Court.
How?
And then there was allegation that they accepted bribes. They even went to a point of...
This didn't come from Nana Akufo-Addo.
Oh, please.
It didn't come from Nana Akufo-Addo.
Please, Nanaba.
Did Nana Akufo-Addo say anywhere,
Nanaba,
at any point?
Please. If you are a leader of an organization that engages in, take for instance, criminal activity, and you continue to be the leader, you don't call anybody to order, and that organization continues preaching what it is that they were preaching. You cannot come out and say that as an individual, this thing didn't come from my mouth, and so on and so forth. Because in NDC, if we say that this is the party position and you go against the party position, you are dealt with. So if there's somebody who is supporting whatever is happening, after Obrasport, they went to all regional capitals and preaching all type of things. So when they realized
all type of thing that does not generate into any form of chaos,
this organization,
it was peaceful.
Because Ghanaians believed in peace.
So it didn't happen. Because Nanado himself believes in peace.
He doesn't believe in peace.
Yes, he does.
No, how can you say election is all die be die and you say you believe in peace? How can you call pressmen threatening them of death because they have said something
when did he threaten
He told Adakabre.
Well, that is Adakabre's word against his. Why didn't Adakabre go to the police?
Adakabre's word was corroborated by his father, unless Adakabre wants to tell us that his father is a liar.
Why didn't he go to the police?
I'm saying that.
Because there was a lady with them, Efia Pokuya, who said that Nanado
should come out.
Why should Nanado come out?
Shame Adakabre. Otherwise, the situation I have now, all the indications are that Nanado actually threatened Adakabre.
Because what you're saying is that if I accuse you of doing something, I can just get up, accuse you, and then it behoves on you to prove that you are not guilty. That's the impression
that is not the issue. Listen. Somebody says something, and you say you have blacklisted a station or whatever. Then he comes out to say that, look, this man even threatened me of death.
He could have gone to the police.
Please. This man threatened me of death. He was asked why he did not complain. And he said that he was scared. Then the father then comes out to say that, look, this thing happened. And I had occasion to question Nanado in the presence of party leader A, B, C, D, mentioned more than 10 prominent figures in MPP. None of them has been questioned.
And since then, Adakabre has apologized.
Please, none of them has been questioned. Then Adakabre comes out to apologize. You try to find out, is it the case that Adakabre was further threatened?
How can he be further threatened?
Please, because we haven't heard from the father that all those corroborations were fabricated.
Or maybe his father was telling fibs.
Please.
His father was probably telling fibs.
Or you haven't interviewed any of the names of the big MPP people who were mentioned.
Why should they be
So
interviewed?
as we sit here, please, as I sit here, I have problems. And then the Ghana Journalists Association haven't said anything. So is it the case that
because the case was never reported,
Nanado will publicly claim that he disagrees with criminal libel? At least in criminal libel, you have opportunity of bringing the accused to court. He will be heard and so on. Now, if it is about threat of death or killing journalists, it's a different matter. Because as for that one, you speak against me.
So you do not believe the lady journalist
you speak against me,
who
I
said
go and lynch you.
never threatened the gentleman, because she was mentioned as a witness that she was there when it happened.
Why won't you call Nanado's father for interview? No. Adakabre's father
for interview.
Yes.
Well, why didn't they
and
go
why
to the
won't
police?
you call all the other names for them to come and make a statement?
Mr. Asiedu Nketiah, wouldn't you have advised Adakabre to go to the police if indeed he had been threatened by Nana Akufo-Addo?
I'm saying that.
Oh, yeah?
Adakabre has said what he has said. When he was asked, he said he was scared. That's why he didn't go anywhere. So, but now he's talking. Now, the following day, the person who said he was scared in the first place to talk about it, he has spoken about it in a fit of anger. The following day, he recalls and be apologizing. Don't you think that it is an indictment of Nana Akufo-Addo to prove that he has never threatened Adakabre in any way?
Why is the burden of proof on Nana Akufo-Addo?
I'm not talking about burden of proof of Nana
because
Akufo-Addo,
if you make it seem like he is the accused, so he should prove that he's not guilty.
So why should he rush to accept this? I see the apology as a contrived apology.
Really?
Honestly. Yes.
But I thought he's such a brave man who came out to say Nanado had really threatened him. So if he's such a brave man, he should have gone to the police or stick with his words.
So have you since interviewed Adakabre?
No, I haven't.
To make the differentiation between whether what he said was true or it wasn't true and he had to...
He has apologized.
Please. If it is lies, a journalist who can just lie, fabricate things and put on a prominent person like Nanado, why should he maintain his work?
Well, that's a
So
good question.
you are keeping somebody who, when he's offended, can just come out and create that I saw Asiedu Nketiah in a rape case somewhere and I haven't said it and so on. So whatever it is, Nanado's image is at stake. Adakabre's image is at stake. Adakabre's father's image is at stake. So we need to go into this things and then let the Ghana Journalists Association also come out to be interested in this particular matter.
Is Nanado not your friend?
He is.
And you think really and truly that Nanado is a violent man? Is Nanado the man you know?
Well, he has projected himself to be so.
I'm asking you, is he a violent man?
I'm saying that he has projected himself to be so.
Because of one accusation?
Because he has ordered his party people to go in for all die be die. And then he has admitted, I suffered the Atiwa violence. I went through myself. There was a barricade somewhere. I ran into a barrier. I had to get out of my car in my smoke to physically go and remove the barrier, and those who were around with their cutlasses had to escape.
And this was
the time, please. And this was the time commentators of MPP were announcing false information that Anita had run over and killed about 4 MPP people, so MPP people should rise and deal with Anita. Then eventually it turns out that everything was a hoax, contrived thing to just create violence. And then Nanado comes to admit at a private meeting that, he showed us something small in Atiwa. How low can a leader be? And I was a witness also that in 2006 elections, after Nanado was declared a winner, he led his party people to set the NDC party office on fire in Kebbi. That is the point. It is there. The ruins are there.
Did you report him to the police?
The ruins are there.
Why didn't you report him to the police?
If you have to talk about, the violent nature of Nanado or anybody, I am very convinced that I am very convinced that. If it comes
is that your campaign message?
It is not my campaign. You are asking me about my opinion about Nanado.
You're going to portray Nanado as a violent man.
No. I'm saying that you are asking about my opinion about Nanado. And I'm telling you what my opinion is about Nanado. So that is my opinion.
Interesting. Because a lot of
and
people will
I
also
know that if you are leading a party like President Mahama, like President Mills have been leading NDC. If you are not interested in violence, you don't condone and glorify violent statements from your party members. All the violent statements have been made under Nanado, and there has been no response from Nanado, either calling anybody to order for issuing violent statements. And so if you are the leader, Napoleon never shot a gun. But he conquered Europe. It was his supporters who conquered Europe.
During the fracas at the NPP office, when it went on and on for a while, and then we saw what happened to Chairman Mahama as well, Nanado held a press conference.
Has anybody tried to find out what happened at NPP office and who organized the tax to go and create the mayhem there?
Well, we will not get into
You are the leader of the party. And so if there is something there which you abhor so much, why wouldn't you call for police investigation so that you get people to punish? It happened right at your party headquarters. So, my sister, and let me say, there is vicarious liability in law. Since Nanado,
has President Mahama called Standogbe to order? For all the allegations, for all the accusations against him.
What violent activity has Standogbe
The journalist at
engaged
37, whose recorder was expelled.
my sister, if you are talking about journalists, recorders, and listen, television cameras have been broken and thrown away.
It doesn't make it right. By who?
But I'm saying,
by who?
Oh, Nanado supporters.
No, I'm talking about your camp. I'm talking about.
And I'm saying that Nanado supporters.
You cannot equalize here.
Why? I'm not talking about equalization, but these allegations of we saw television cameras broken, journalists beaten, and so on. When Nanado was
I remember one
to
of my former colleagues, Gabriel Bosompim, was beaten up at the NDC headquarters.
Where?
When it was in Kokomlemle. I think it was during the 2000 elections.
So what happened after that one?
Well, nothing became of it.
No.
Nothing happened. So if you talk about journalists beaten and equipment broken, it's probably in both parties.
I am saying that, look.
Is that fair to say that the NDC is a violent party? Because
no,
of one
you see,
of
NDC were living with the tag of violence after Koforidua. And the new leadership accepted this as a challenge. And we worked to clean the party of that image. But here we are, leadership of a party that is engaged in pouring acid on some of its members and so on. They will never condemn what has happened, and they will never take action to correct what is happening. So that is the difference.
Okay, let me ask you. It looks as though in the last month or two, and I think it will continue for some time.
Can you find out where Mark Manu is?
Mr. Mark Manu.
I don't want to be a mono interview like that.
I hear he's stuck in traffic.
Okay.
He's on his way. And I'm sure it will continue in the next months till we go to the polls.
Yeah.
This portrayal of Nanado and the NPP as a violent party, or a violent person. Is that a way for the NDC to probably hide behind
has nothing to do,
their inability to deliver on their
campaign
campaign promises in
with
2012?
MPPs or NDC's deliberate policy to malign anybody. It's about telling...
To hide behind that?
It is about...
To cover up?
No. It's about telling it as it is.
Okay.
That's all about it. It's about telling it as it is. Where you have a party that will organize tax to drive away the chairman, drive away the general secretary, smash his car and all that. It doesn't happen in any party in Ghana. You understand? You have a party where a party sympathizer was lynched at a party regional office. You have a party where a party regional chairman is lynched. And so when these things are happening and you have a party where a party member of parliament will call for civil war and other things, and that party member is carried shoulder high amidst pouring of powder and other things, and there is nothing from the leadership to condemn that type of conduct. So who is painting NPP as a violent party?
The NDC.
No. These are things that are happening right in front of the eyes of Ghanaians. So it's nobody who is painting that.
Now let's go back to the campaign messages.
Yeah.
Yes. So you'll be launching your campaign very soon.
Very soon.
And then you will launch your manifesto.
Yes.
There.
And
you
then
think
introduce our candidates, both parliamentary and presidential.
Oh, it must be a very long event then. It will.
No, these are activities
to be done
that
simultaneously.
we may be doing. We are now trying to see whether we'll be launching the manifesto together with the introduction of our candidates, or we will do them at separate functions.
Do you have a venue yet?
So
or is it going to be in the Greater Accra region, the Volta region, or the Ashanti region where you are looking for how many thousand votes?
You get to know about it when we are ready.
You don't want to release it?
It's part of the strategy.
Yeah? Well, okay, so let's take the campaign message for the 2016. You think President Mahama will be retained?
Sure, absolutely. There's no doubt about it at all.
At all?
At all.
Considering how much pressure has been on businesses during the energy crisis that took forever to be fixed.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's been fixed.
I don't have any doubt at all in my mind. So when you
presided over an economy where the cedi was unstable for a long time. Propaganda from who?
You realize that this is a president who has performed.
Where from the propaganda? I mean, if you have the whole nation at one point crying because the energy crisis has taken a toll on their businesses and their lives, how is that propaganda?
The people understand where the energy crisis began.
Where did it begin?
It began from our collective negligence of the power sector.
And who was in power longer than everyone?
You have a president who has the courage to fix it.
So the previous president didn't have the courage? Professor Mills didn't have the courage?
If you have to take the decisions at the right time, you deal with the problems.
Professor Mills didn't have the courage?
Once the problem gets out of hand up to a certain point, you remember this power crisis came during the time President Rawlings was in power. That was the first time that the nation was going through.
So he was not courageous to take bold decisions?
Listen. That was the time. That was around 98, 99. So it was the first time we hadn't experienced, but since Akosombo was built, we're always having excess power over our demands. Now, when he came and started the rural electrification and the project of getting 100% power coverage in the country, started spreading the power, and it got to a point where we now realize that there was a problem with generation as compared to distribution and consumption. So that being the first power crisis, he constituted a committee, invited experts from US and so on. We all sat, and a power sector project was developed, where it was determined that within the next 10 years or so, Ghana would have to increase generation by 200 megawatts per annum for the next 10 years. within the 2 years that he remained in power, was able to increase the power generation by close to 600 megawatts. And so when MPP took over, it meant that President Rawlings had actually exceeded the planned increase in power. So they went to bed and started enjoying the excess power that was available for all the 8 years. For all the 8 years, there was not a single kilowatt of power added to generation. 8 years, when the plan was that increase power production by at least 200 megawatts per annum. For 8 years.
They did a lot of investments though.
What was it? Where? They never produced a single kilowatt of power in all the 8 years. So we took over again, and so you have to deal with a deficit of 200 megawatts per year for 8 years. So
you're laying the blame on the NPP then?
No, so we were caught with our neglect of the generation capacity. And so that was what we came to. So, and the increase in consumption, energy consumption, had exceeded single digits to double digits. It has been double digits up to, even now that I would tell me that we have suppressed demand, we are still increasing by at least 12%. If power was available, I'm sure we will be increasing demand by more than 15% per annum. You understand? So if you find yourself in such a situation, you need to look beyond your nose to project into the future and then develop concrete solutions, which the president has been dealing with. And I'm very happy that investment in the power sector in the last, 4 or 5 years has been very impressive. Even today, this evening, a power project was commissioned in Tema that is going to add even more generation. So what we have done, we are hopeful that as we are dealing with the deficit, we are also dealing with the projected demand. And so moving forward, we will know. So every honest person in Ghana, every honest businessman will know that the problem with the energy crisis had to do with generation. That's all. So,
okay.
And you need to solve it. And it doesn't take, you see, no, I have been saying that no matter how dearly you love your wife, it will still take 9 months to produce a baby. So, you understand?
Well, how's that? So, I don't see the nexus between love and a baby. I mean,
no, I'm saying that
it comes with the love.
When you are introduced, you are investing in power. There is a short term, medium term, and long term in every investment. So where people were calling on government to solve the energy crisis in 2 weeks, in 3 months, and so on, I was just laughing.
Because people were suffering.
Yeah, we appreciate the suffering, but we are saying that however dearly you needed a baby, a pregnancy will still take 9 months. So whilst people were demonstrating and saying that fix this thing in 2 weeks, fix it otherwise we will demonstrate and so on. It gives the impression of people who either don't understand investment in power or they understand and they will be mischievous. And that is why we had to
because alongside the energy crisis, and if it's been solved permanently, well, we are thankful. But there are some who claim that it is very much artificial.
No, we are still having challenges because, several factors conspired to create this problem. Okay. As we talk now, even climatic change has created the biggest problem. If the lake, there is water in the Akosombo system, this problem will be a thing of the past.
Okay.
But even we are managing at this level with the lowest level of lake. So it is affecting the lowest level of power in the lake. It's affecting generation in Bui, it's affecting generation in Akosombo, it's affecting generation in Pong. And still, we are managing at this level. So I think that...
Because along with the energy crisis that took forever, are people who really people who lost their jobs. Businesses had to shut down. These people who were laid off because of the energy crisis have really not found anything to do. We are told that jobs have been created. We are not sure of what has happened to those who lost their jobs during the energy crisis. Is this relevant?
If we are in a modern economy, you see that there is something called job mobility. So every economy is dynamic. There will be opportunities somewhere where other doors are being closed. There will be others that are opening. So if you are in any modern economy, there is a way of ensuring that there is job mobility, training and retraining and so on. So whenever there is a crisis somewhere, it generates opportunities in other places. So
really?
Even as the
other opportunities have swallowed those who were laid off?
No, it may not be necessarily the same people who were laid off, but I'm saying that when there are opportunities that are lost somewhere, if you focus very well, you see that there are other opportunities that have been opened.
Let me take some messages that have come in, then we can take a break and continue. Hopefully Mr. McMahon will be here. So the hashtag to use is state of affairs. White Rice says, no matter how dearly you love your wife, actually he's quoting you, it will still take 9 months to produce a baby, and I'm sure this will be trending for a very long time. Okay, and Nana Hesi Ojuri says, Nana, but T1, T2, T3 generating points were all done by President Kufuor. But Bui was started by President Kufuor. Asogli was done in 2006. Well, he's talking about adding generation.
Yes.
Well, of course, I mentioned to him that some investments had been made, but he's talking about adding generation. MacArthur Iceman says students are crying for jobs, companies are collapsing, and the General Secretary is there attacking Nana Akufo-Addo. Abdullahi Al-Hassan says, Nana, but we don't need the NPP in the studio with you. They do not have a message. President Mahama has done it all and will continue to do for us next year. Musa Amasuma says, Nanaba, thanks for bringing General Mosquito to the studio. Please tell him that some of his communicators are terrible. They cannot communicate what the party really stands for. Do you agree?
That is his opinion.
Okay. But have you had any complaints of that sort?
Oh,
about
people will be commending some of them, others will be criticizing those who go overboard. That is the beauty of the democracy. In NDC. Okay.
Abdullah comes back. The message for from the NDC is to tag Nana as a violent person. I wonder what would have happened if the same falsehood was said about President Mahama. And Anaba, remember Professor Mills says Ghana will be like Kenya. Should we say that Professor Mills was a violent man? Well, that's a question to you.
Professor Mills never said that.
He never did?
No.
He never?
Yes, I was at the press conference, which is...
Did he mention Kenya?
Yes, he did.
Okay. So he was taken out of context?
He was saying that we should make sure Ghana does not go the road of Kenya. Okay. That's all.
Okay, so a lot of these things were taken out. So you don't think that Nanado has also been taken out of context?
No.
When
the person says this election is all die be die. that one nobody can take you out of
context. Mr. Asiedu Nketiah, is that what he really said?
Yes, that was what he said. Really? You have the tape. I mean, if you were not here at that time, maybe somebody has the tape, you can play it back.
Okay, let's take a break. We have more messages coming from you. We'll take a break. When we come back, we'll be talking about more the campaign message for the 2016 elections. Also, we'd like to pick Mr. Asiedu Nketiah's thoughts on that debate or discussion over the EC logo and then validation. Stay with us. Welcome back to the show, and well, I'm still here with Mr. Johnson Asiedu Nketiah, the General Secretary of the NDC. What are your thoughts on the logo discussion that has come up? Well, the EC has come out to say that it really hasn't got a new logo. I mean, there was an intent, or there is an intent, but it has not outlawed officially any new logo.
It doesn't concern either me or NDC in any way.
It doesn't? The logo of
the
EC is not your business?
Not at all. Whatever EC decides to use as their logo, it doesn't concern anybody in NDC.
So you found the discussion unnecessary?
Completely unnecessary, because the Electoral Commission, maybe the chairman of the Electoral Commission and her two deputies, they act in executive capacity and they run the organization as chief executives. That is one function. And then the other function is for them to run elections. And so it is the other function of running elections where we collaborate with them through IPAC and the other things. The decisions they take concerning the administrative functions has nothing to do with NDC and, for that matter, any political
So what did you make of the discussion that was going on radio?
Totally unnecessary. That's why I have not participated in them.
Okay, and then validation, no validation, audit, exhibition.
That's also much ado about nothing. Because, you know, when this issue about the demand for a change in voters' register arose, it actually arose as an afterthought from MPP. Because when the Electoral Commission requested for inputs towards electoral reforms, the MPP submitted a paper which said nothing, absolutely nothing about the need to replace the voters register. When all political parties have submitted their inputs and the inputs have been compiled for processing, and the committee had been established by IPAC, that is EC in collaboration of political parties. That committee, I had the privilege of serving on it. MPP had the privilege of bringing one person, and all the other parties combined had the privilege of selecting two people. Civil society had selected people. It was after all this that Nanado went to London and declared that the Ghana's voters register was fraudulent and it was flawed beyond repairs. It could not be used for the 2016 elections. Then everything else began to change. I remember having done a program at Gold TV, and I indicated that there seemed to be some confusion in MPP surrounding their demands for electoral reform, because we have received copies of a document that says nothing about the need to replace the voters register. And now their flag bearer is singing another song. So
new evidence must have cropped up.
So what is wrong with MPP? They need to do their homework. So after the committee had been established and were ready to go into sitting, that MPP then presents another paper demanding the replacement of the register completely. And I remember when the paper was submitted to the committee, we indicated to them that we didn't have the mandate to deal with that paper because we have been given an assignment to do.
Right, I remember that one.
Yeah, so that was how they have continued talking about the need for a replacement, and that forced the Electoral Commission to now empanel a group of 5 experts, and they organized a national debate where everybody who had submitted a proposal had to go to defend it. At the end of the day, they brought their report with recommendations, and their recommendations are being implemented by the Electoral Commission.
Was validation mentioned in the...
There was nothing like validation in their recommendations.
Because I heard Professor Sante say that.
There was nothing like validation in their recommendations. So we're surprised to, having received this report, all the political parties knew what was contained in there. So and then we had gone for an IPAC meeting where Electoral Commission had presented their program for implementing the recommendations of the Committee of Experts. Then MPP walked out of that IPAC, and they were all over the place organizing demonstrations indicating that the report had recommended something called validation, and Electoral Commission is being recalcitrant. They didn't want to implement that validation and so on. So at last week's IPAC, we were all surprised. So we put it to MPP that why would you come here and then be privy to all the discussions, then you go out there to present a picture that did not reflect what is discussed here.
What was their
response? So tell us. So at that IPAC, they told us that they didn't have any knowledge about who organized the Bamuyada demonstration in Kumasi.
Well,
that
was Let My Vote Count?
No, the last Bamuyada thing. They said that it was
the one in Kumasi.
Yes.
Yes, it was led by Let My Vote Count.
But
of course, NPP.
But if you have your running mate leading a demonstration, and then you come to tell us that you have no knowledge about what is happening there, so we're all surprised. You see, so my advice to them at that point, and I'll continue to give it on this forum, that look, IPAC is a contrivance that was put in place to secure consensus of political parties, because political rules are better set by consensus rather than legislated upon straight away. Because in Parliament, you always have a party in majority and a party in opposition. So if you begin to present the rules of the power game to Parliament for them to decide, the majority will always have their way. So it will tend to create a situation where the majority will approve of rules that will perpetuate them in power. So that was why when Electoral Commission brought about this idea of IPAC, we thought that it was a wonderful platform to establish consensus, because at IPAC, you have all parties equally represented, all registered political parties in Ghana equally represented. So it is no longer about majority, minority, and so on. So parties which do not even have representation in Parliament are represented by 3 people. Everybody is represented by 3 people. So I remember when IPAC was introduced, there was an occasion where NDC, as a governing party, had to boycott IPAC because we thought that the minority parties had ganged up and they were trying to push something down our throats and so on, which we disagreed and so on. Eventually, we had to come back and accepted that building consensus over the rules was better than pushing legislation about the rules in Parliament, where the majority will always have their way. So that is what we have lived with. It has been established as an international best practice. Other countries are copying from us. So now, if you have a party in opposition which acts to subvert IPAC, they do so at their own risk. Because the bottom line is that IPAC has no legislation backing it. So if parties cannot build consensus that will impact on Electoral Commission's decisions, and IPAC decides that we are no longer relevant, allow Electoral Commission, they will act according to the powers conferred on them by the Constitution. And at that point, nobody will have an input. So that's why...
And that won't augur well for
anybody. That's why we were very, very, shall I say, mad at MPP for that type of posturing, where they will come to IPAC, decisions are arrived at, then they go out there to say different things. Everybody in this country heard MPP saying that they agree with the Committee of Experts that the register will not be replaced, but the Committee of Experts insists that we must do something called validation. So they send people to write no validation, no votes in.
So the word validation
there was
is
nothing like that to the recommendations.
So it's alien to IPAC.
It's very well, because in fact at this IPAC we sought to understand from them what they meant by validation. Because the only place I saw validation was the inputs of MPP when they were doing their presentation at the Alisa Hotel.
Yeah.
Then the recommendations came. The recommendation page, the report of the committee, page 70, item 6. It tells you about what the committee of experts recommended about cleaning the register, and it has nothing to do with validation. So I understand from the processes filed in Supreme Court that their interpretation of validation is that people should be called to go and check their names. Mm-hmm. So those who don't appear to check their names must have their names removed from the register.
And that will lead to disenfranchising people.
And we are saying that that is completely not in accord with our constitution. It doesn't agree with any law in Ghana and so on. And that will lead to a situation where let my vote count will actually have their way, because their name is let my vote count. Selfish name. They are talking. No, they are saying that let my vote count.
Yeah, but everybody
they don't
wants
care
their
whether
vote to be counted.
They don't care whether other people's votes should count. But in a democracy, it must be let everybody's vote count.
So you thought that should have been the name of the group? Let everybody
absolutely,
because
if you say let my vote count, it means that no, it's not by
a lot of people.
No, they are not speaking for a lot of people. They are talking. It's a selfish name. You are saying that your vote alone should count, and their conduct actually demonstrate that that is what they mean. So let 40% of the electors go to check their names as it has traditionally happened, and let's cancel the names of 60% who have never bothered to check their names. And you see, Nana, the important thing is that these are people who claim they are legal luminaries, and yet they want to profess something that is at odds with all our legal traditions in this country. Because you see, there are two...
That is overstretching it.
No, it's not overstretching it. The tradition, our legal tradition, the Commonwealth legal tradition, is based on the innocence of the individual until he's proven guilty.
Oh, you know this.
And then the second thing is that he who alleges must prove.
Exactly. So
you understand?
I don't want to go back to that issue because this fits in so well.
Then you come to the French tradition that says that, once I accuse you, the onus is on you to prove your innocence. You see, so what are we talking about? We have compared, the constitution of this country says that everybody above 18 years of age has a right to vote.
Of sound mind.
And of sound mind, blah, 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 blah. But don't remind me of George Boateng.
Exactly, I was going to go there.
And all that they need to do is to register.
Yeah.
That's all. Once you register and your registration is accepted, that's all. Nobody, absolutely nobody in Ghana can prevent you from casting your vote. The law doesn't talk about exhibition or anything. This exhibition and other things, they are all procedural things that help to, facilitate the work. But there is nothing like that in the Constitution or in the enabling legislation that talk about exhibition or validation or anything. Now, MPP comes out to say that, well, we have seen the voters register, but we are accusing ABC of being aliens, of being underage, of being people who are ineligible because they use the wrong identification in writing their names and so on. So if it is MPP that is making the accusation, the onus is on them to bring the proof. So you don't just get up and say that because MPP has alleged, it means that those who cannot...
Proof.
No.
About that over 25,000 from the Volta region.
If I can learn.
Okay.
So the proof is on people to go to polling stations to go and prove that they are Ghanaians, otherwise their name should be removed. It doesn't happen that way. So all that the committee of experts recommended was that let us exhibit the register. Those who claim they have 70,000 names of foreigners, another
it was over 70,000, not 20.
another 60,000 or whatever, or 600,000 of dead people, another number for minors. This is the opportunity. Let's provide them with the opportunity to establish their case, so the people they are accusing will have the opportunity to
they
answer.
expected the EC to get a copy from the Togolese EC.
It is not about that at all. Whether they get a copy from Lebanese EC or Indian EC or anything. The bottom line is that those you are accusing of being foreigners, you must face them and prove your case. So we are saying that the committee of experts has recommended that let the exhibition period be expanded. Let's make a lot of advertisement about the exhibition and the need for it and so on. So let MPP distribute the 70,000 names to the various registration centers where they actually register, because MPP has copies of the register. And let people come and present their cases that I know Asiedu Nketiah, Nana Ba, Adukufo, so and so are aliens. So there is a procedure to follow. So you fill in the forms and you challenge them. Then at the end of the exhibition, the district registration review committee will now sit and say, okay, Nana Ba, you have been accused of being a Fulani person who has registered in Ghana. So come and answer. Then they will call the person who accused Nana Ba. So the person will provide the evidence. If Nana Ba is not able to answer satisfactorily, then the judges will make a determination that Nana Ba is a Fulani person, so her name should be cancelled from our register. This is the process that Electoral Commission has adopted following the recommendation of the committee of experts. So I think that MPP should be congratulating the committee of experts. MPP should be congratulating the Electoral Commission for faithfully following all the recommendations of the committee of experts. But for them to go and fabricate notions like validation, which they themselves cannot explain, because I engage a lot of the MPP communicators, and they explain the validation differently. Some are saying that, look, we will put the register there, and then people will come and check. Those who do not present themselves would have their names removed. Then, not long after that one, other communicators are saying that their names will not be removed from the register because the law doesn't allow them to remove the names from the register, but they will remain in the base register, and then a new register made up of people who have checked their names will be developed, and then that register will be used for the election.
It's a bit confusing.
Complete confusion. And they are dragging us to a situation where Ablikumasaf or something, where their own people are accusing them of using 2 registers in one election. We don't use 2 registers in one election. An election is done based on the register that has been certified.
All right. I want to pick your thoughts on something else, but there's an interesting comment here for you about innocent until proven guilty. And Mohammed Ango says, so General Mosquito knows this, I think he's playing double standards here.
Why?
When you said that, back to the Adakabre accusation against Nanado.
No, I'm saying
I don't
that
want us to even...
things are hanging on the head of Nanado. You know, Nanado has tried to present himself as a #1 human rights lawyer in Ghana.
And that is what we know him for.
Please, he's somebody who has fought for the removal of, criminal libel laws in Ghana. So if you have an occasion where a pressman is accusing you of threatening to kill him, it is in your interest.
He actually asked him to go to court.
It is in your interest.
To sue him or go to the police, report to the police.
It is in your interest that that case is sufficiently interrogated and dealt with.
Okay.
It is in the interest of the Ghana Journalists Association to see to it that this case is dealt with, because otherwise you are calling for repeal of a criminal libel. As far as I'm concerned, criminal libel laws are better than elimination of elimination of pressmen, because as for criminal libel, at least you have an opportunity to be heard. But
no
where
one
you
has
speak,
eliminated a press.
but where a pressman is eliminated or threatened with death, it is worse. So
we,
it is
we don't
not,
know that for a fact.
It is not in the but because Adakabri's father has come to collaborate.
But why do
so
you believe Adakabri's father so much?
Then let us expose Adakabri's father as a liar, or Adakabri as a liar.
Okay.
So I think that there is unfinished business that the press men in Ghana have to do.
Okay.
There is unfinished business.
For
we
our
have
own,
to
right?
For your own. So
Right.
we have to do that unfinished business. Otherwise, you can't just cover it, sweep it under the carpet and say that there is accusation.
Well,
and
once
that's
he
okay.
apologized,
And
I think
even
he was swept under the carpet.
no, even somebody came out in MPP to threaten the media organization that if they want their matters to be discussed publicly, they should bring it on.
Well,
Then the following day, these apologies came. The media house apologized. What is it that media house has engaged in, or what is it that MPP knows about that media organization, which the rest of the countrymen don't know?
Okay.
So there are issues that we have to deal with. If
big-
it is about the press, it must be open.
Okay. How big an issue is corruption as we go into this election?
I don't think that corruption is an issue at all.
Why
because people have tried to present propaganda as about corruption in Ghana under President
When our
Mahama.
national kit is being eaten up,
My sister,
reportedly.
you know about corruption and how to fight corruption. President Kufuor said that corruption began from Adam.
This is becoming a cliche,
Yes,
isn't it?
President Kufuor said corruption, and nobody argued with him. In actual fact, corruption began from Adam. But it depends on your attitude towards corruption. That tells the difference between a good president and a bad one, as far as corruption is concerned. What President Kufuor says is that you cannot prevent corruption from happening. But after corruption has happened, what will be your attitude? President Kufuor and the MPP have said that when corruption happens, sweep it under the carpet. Otherwise, it will dent the image of your government.
Why did he then set up an office of accountability in his
So
office?
what did that office do?
It investigated cases.
It did nothing. Have you seen a single report from that office?
Well, maybe there were no reports of corruption.
It did completely nothing. Where you have the state institutions that deal with corruption, and you say that, look, I will not expose my appointees publicly, anything about corruption about my appointees publicly. Corruption, if you don't expose corruption, how do you deal with it?
Okay.
You
but
cannot deal with
President
corruption.
Kufuor who is going into this election.
Please.
It is Nanado.
I'm saying that is their history, and it is consistent with Nanado's conduct, even as an opposition leader. Because in MPP, what was the offense of Afoko and Kwabran Japan?
Well, they used the
They
parties.
complained about corruption in MPP, the opening of secret accounts. And then the others said that, look, these are internal party matters which you don't talk about publicly. So it tells you that consistent with MPP's policy of dealing with corruption, it is secret and confidential. Just stamp something on it and keep it somewhere so that the impression about corruption will not be felt in the country. So anybody who comes to do a survey about corruption will not hear about anything about corruption. But we say that no, let us expose corruption first. Because if you don't expose corruption, how do you deal with it? If you don't expose a bad thing, look, let your child or somebody, let out something, a stool or something. Then you pull your carpet over it, thinking that the stench, because of the stench, you have to pull more carpets over it. The stench will still remain there. Because your argument is that if people hear this stench about something that is in my house, it's offensive. So let's cover it up. NDC is saying, let's open it and clean the mess up so that you can deal with corruption. So when we were dealing with corruption or adopting this approach towards corruption, we knew that we were running a political risk because it is during your time that corruption will be exposed. People will hear about corruption, and then when you go to interview people, they will say that, well, it is during this time we have heard this, we have heard this, we have heard that, we have heard that.
Okay.
So they will tend to associate that thing with you. But that is just the right way to fight corruption.
Okay.
So it is on the NDC that any pressman can investigate anything, bring the findings out, and the investigative authorities will follow it up and make sure it is clean. Even allegations from opposition parties,
against their appointees.
from the
Thank
press,
you.
from everybody, we deal with it.
On that
That
note,
is
we'll
the
take
way
our
forward.
next break.
That's
We'll
the
be
way.
back.
That's the way to fight
stay with
corruption,
us.
not to cover corruption up.
Charlie, what's this I hear about registering to vote?
Have you heard about the registration?
Lizzie, are you aware we are supposed to register and vote for this year's election?
Guys, are you aware the Electoral Commission of Ghana is opening the limited registration from the 28th April to 8th May?
Don't have all day to kill.
As for me, I want to make a decision.
Registering to vote is a constitutional mandate.
Hey guys, Kwame is right. Your vote empowers you to determine who will be in charge of Ghana's development for the next 4 years. It's your Ghana, it's your future. Let us continue working for you.
So now what are we doing?
Go, register and vote.
It's our Ghana, it's our future. Let us continue working for you.
Prepare to be entertained in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
This year's VGMAs goes live with the cheer, the music, dancing, tongue-twisting rap, and more music from some of the biggest names in the game.
Sarkodie, Stoneboy, R2 Beams, EL, Bisakebe, Joe Metal, Effia, and many more. Ghana Music's biggest night goes live Saturday, 7th May at the Conference Center. You don't want to miss this one. Call our ticket hotline on 050-395-183 to book your seat now.
The 17th VGMAs is powered by Charterhouse with support from Star Beer. It's who we are. Mentos, Furniture City, our media partners, and proudly brought to you by Vodafone.
Vodafone, power to you.
The EIB Election Hub. Expect more.
I told you. Today is 18th April. You thought that the weeks won't go down. You've got 28 more weeks that we go and vote. We are talking basically about 195, 196 days. So if you are waiting for the weeks to roll, by between it will never come. Oh, you are? Validation has two different meanings depending on where you are standing. Whether the glass is half full or is half empty. The panel of experts led by Professor Crabb, His Lordship Professor Crabb, set up by the Electoral Commission, was to try and find ways between the demand by the MPP and its stakeholder groups like Let My Vote Count for a new register, and the decision by some other groups led by the ruling NDC that the voter register can be clean. In this report, the panel talked about validation. Part of the process of validation was for more days to be given to the exhibition of the voters register, so that persons who are dead can be removed or persons will get time to check. The Let My Vote Count and the MPP on the other side took validation to another step, using the Nigerian example, that there must be a law that will force you watching me to go and check your name and have a form of ID to say you are Beswa Dona Hammond, or you are Nanaba Namwa, or you are Kafui, or you are Kiswa. That was the point of departure between the two. So the EC, you see, has been saying that they want to validate. The validate means more time
for voters' exhibition. The MPP, the NDC, the ruling party, has kicked against the MPP's version of validation. And MPP cannot force through their version because the ruling NDC controls parliament. And there must be a law that will force you to go and look at your name. If you don't go, you cannot vote. So these have been the two main viewpoints of the word validation vis-a-vis our electoral register and its encomiums. Now, people have said that the MPP version of validation is like trying to have a new voters register through the back door. With arguing for a new register, voters register collapsed because there wasn't enough analysis to show that the voters register was bloated. Through a back door means that if the law is passed and you don't go and check your name, you cannot vote. The middle ground is one. Those who are supposed to have been minors are don't register. There's no way we can clean them, but we can prevent others from going on to it. That means when the voters register opens on April 28th, it is for those who've attained 18 years over the last year, who've not registered, and for those above 18 years who have not registered. The political parties must get polling. Fortunately, they haven't expanded the polling stations where the registration will be done. Get your polling agents within the locality to run shift, and there are grounds for which you can challenge them. And I repeat, please, if you have lost your voter ID card, don't try to register. Report to the nearest police station, get the police extract, and go to the district electoral office and register. I must warn you, if you register, you attempt to register because your voter's ID is lost, the system will take cognizance of your fingerprint. No two persons have the same fingerprint. You'll be delisted. It will cancel your registration. You cannot vote. I'm sure now the figure has reached almost 190, 200,000 Ghanaians who have done twice. You can't cheat the fingerprints. One of the reasons towards this validation was that it will be an attempt to stop dead persons from voting. When we do not have the biometric registration, people could go and take a dead man's voter ID and do two-shape. You know what is two-shape? Remove the dead man's picture and put your picture. That was when dead men could vote. But when I use thumbprint, or the thumbprint to call. So how can a dead man vote? It's just not possible. See you tomorrow.
The EIB Election Hub. Expect more.
Okay, so the next episode of the Election Hub, the countdown to the elections by Benepson, will be airing tomorrow morning on GH Today with Kafui Day and Beswa Dowuna Hammond. Make sure you catch it. If you don't, you can still catch a repeat on State of Affairs later tonight. Tomorrow, we'll be speaking to the Director of Passports. So if you have any questions about passports, start sending them to us. General Mosquito is here with me. We are just about wrapping up. 2 questions before we go. One is a very trivial question. The other one is quite important. I'm sure you find both trivial. The Mahindra cars. The NDC, the party bought those cars?
Yes.
Which party?
No. In opposition, we bought them. We have been very consistent with the brand of vehicles we use. And so it's Mahindra.
But why have they broken down? Why are you buying new ones?
Low cost, because they are cheap.
So how much did they cost the party?
We can't afford to be buying the
Tundras and that. How much did they cost the party?
And the other things that MPP in opposition has
How much did they cost your party?
You remember?
I know. How much did they cost your party?
No,
You won't disclose.
I don't have the figures.
I'm sure you do. Because knowing you don't forget anything.
No.
I've been told it's a trait that you have. You don't forget. You only pretend to forget.
Even Afoko in opposition claims to have ordered 300 pickups, which is refusing to release to the MPP because he has been suspended.
And
that is Toyota Hilux.
Oh, how much is you remember all these details?
One Hilux can buy 2
the price
Mahindras.
Of your Mahindra.
So I'm saying one Hilux can buy 2 Mahindras.
All right then.
Yes.
And then my very last question, which is very trivial. Your birthday is on the 24th of December.
Yes.
You'll be turning 60 years.
Maybe.
But that is your birthday.
Yes, that's my birthday.
Thank you very much for joining me in the studio. Mr. Johnson Asiedu Nketiah, everybody, is the General Secretary of the National Democratic Congress. Thanks very much for your time, and thank you so much, General Mosquito, for coming.
Thank you. I'm only disappointed that my colleagues
I know, I'm also very disappointed. It would have been a very interesting discussion. Yes, but tomorrow, the Director of Passport, I saw you nodding when I talked about the passport.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because I also have problems with the passport issuance and the problems that have bedeviled the passport.
Okay, so tomorrow the Director of Passports will be here with us. So start sending in your questions. My name is Nana Abanamwa. Have a beautiful evening.
Thank you.